All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's Market Outlook video brought to you by DeepView and the Trade Lab. As always, we're going to run through the market indexes, leading stocks, and top performers and standouts of last week, and discuss where we're currently at with regards to the market health, trend, and environment. As I mentioned, this is brought to you by DeepView, and this is my daily driver for everything screening, watchlist management, finding ideas, analyzing stocks. And we just launched an amazing new update basically in the last 5 days, where we added AI to the platform, where you can basically research companies, break down earnings reports, break down the market as a whole. This is my situational awareness prompt here that I'm using. And also I'm using it to start to look back on 2025, analyze what the top themes and stocks were. Basically, this is your personal research analyst. And I did a full webinar. I've done a bunch of videos breaking down how to best use this. So I'll link a few of those down below, but I highly recommend checking out DeepView. We work so hard to, consistently improve this platform and bring to life, your best ideas for how to make your dream platform. So definitely check out DeepView at deepview.com. The link is down below in the description. All right, let's dive into the market analysis. First, looking at the QQQ, we're above all the moving averages. So the market environment in general is strong. That is kind of my on-off filter. Is it okay to be trading? If we're above the moving averages, likely the environment is reasonably good for swing and position trading. I also love getting positioned as we're reclaiming that 21 EMA. That's often a sweet spot to get really good, tight risk reward entries and potentially benefit from a longer term trend that we can have above those moving averages. We had an opportunity right here to get positioned. This is kind of the most recent one as we're moving up the right-hand side. And of course, back in April this year, this was the sweet spot to get positioned in Hood, Palantir, NVIDIA, a lot of the big names, and benefit from this longer term trend. But obviously we had a short-term correction pullback below the 21 EMA. We've now reclaimed the moving average, reclaimed this key level. And like I said, we're above the moving averages. However, there is this unfilled gap up here, which is, a key thing to watch for an indication of a potential pause and pullback, likely supported by the moving averages. You can see here on this past Friday, we had a fade off highs as we're trying to navigate this gap. And I'd love to see a little bit of a pause, pullback, tightening action here, letting the 10 EMA catch up. That would set up kind of the next round of pivots in individual stocks, and is just a little bit more sustainable than this very strong push off the lows, where it's hard to get positioned if you kind of miss the best early entry. So I'd love to see a little bit of a pause here. This fade, we'll see how it gets handled. What we wouldn't want to see is one bar breaking below all these lows, closing negatively below that 10 EMA area, and fall through to the downside from that. That would be a negative. But what would be constructive is, gradual tightening, pullback into the 10 EMA more through time than based on price. And likely, as I mentioned, that would kind of set up the next move higher as we reconfirm from that short-term pullback, take out that unfilled gap, and hopefully challenge these previous highs. Looking at the IWM, this has actually been stronger than the Qs off the bottom of this rally. You can see this powerful move here. That's why I've got labeled here, really moving strongly here. We've got this big downside reversal. There's no follow through to the downside. That was the first clue. And then we just saw expansion higher, reclaim of this key level, a pullback into that level, and then a powerful bounce off of that, and then a tight inside day, albeit with a negative close here on Friday, but looks constructive. And this is just stronger than the Qs since this move higher. Looking at IBIT, to represent the crypto theme, obviously this has been in a intermediate term downtrend below the 21 EMA, below the 50 SMA. We're below the 200-day moving average as well, but we're looking to be forming a bottoming base here, bottoming range, although we haven't been able to get above that 21 EMA. So a pullback on Friday here was setting up tightly below the 21 EMA. I thought it might try to pop through here, through this level on the 21 EMA. We instead pushed lower, but I'd be watching for a higher low to form here and then a breakout through that level. Bottoming bases take some time to develop, to accumulate any supply still coming to market. And this has gotten hit very, very hard. So keep an eye on that crypto theme if this does recover and reclaim that 21 EMA. A lot of the miners have been doing really strongly. So Hut, Cypher. So in the space, there's still opportunity, but this theme still isn't exactly leading like it did through a lot of 2024, and it's been more AI energy, especially last week, semiconductors. Biotech, that's been a very strong group, and we'll talk about that a little bit in just a second. But that's pretty much the three key indexes and representations of the overall market health that I like to look at. But the key thing for me is we're in a developing uptrend. We've reclaimed that 21 EMA. We've had a strong push. Now I'd love to see a short-term pullback, pause, set those next batch of pivots, and really keep developing those charts in the market. Okay, so let's dive into the leaders, because like I like to do, I don't just want to look at the indexes and think that's all there is to the market. It's very important to look at the market indexes as well as the leading names. That really gives you the truth about how the market is performing. So here I've got a list of the current market leadership. We've got Tesla here, reclaiming the 21 EMA, had some opportunities right here as it reclaimed this level, as well as popped through this inside day. A nice reclaim of the 21 EMA, one of my signature setups. And we had a nice pullback, cross back into the 21 EMA supported, and then a range breakout through these highs and the 50 SMA here. That would have been another spot that you can manage risk very tightly versus the low of the day, or even the 21 EMA. That's a natural, tight and logical stop to use. We've expanded a little bit the past 2 days. I'd love to see one more range form, basically a handle form below this level. And on a weekly chart, this looks pretty set up. I mean, this is part of a longer term consolidation. We're basically forming a handle within this longer term formation. And this, of course, has some, big drivers behind it, whether that's energy, whether that's robotics, EV, AI with the self-driving. There's a lot going through for Tesla here, even though on, if we go back to a daily chart, the earnings right now are not, amazing, but we do have some peaks in terms of the estimates. I love that you can see this in deep view. Going forward, there's growth on the horizon. So definitely a name to keep on your radar, and one of the always top liquid leaders to trade when it is set up. So that is Tesla. Google has been the strongest of the mega caps, just trending beautifully. This was a nice opportunity either with Google or with GGLL, which is the leverage version of it. But a nice tight inside day below the space breakout. And from that point, we're up about 26% here, which is a big move for this type of name. And GGLL, I think, is up 50 something percent. But overall, just trending above that 10 EMA, catching that trend at the 21 EMA, and setting up again within a kind of another box here below this level around 330. So definitely a name to keep on your radar, but more of a swing trade type entry here versus this is a position trade type entry. And the distinction is, this one, it's already in trend. The moves can be a little bit, faster, but they're going to be shorter duration versus this is something that you can buy and just kind of sit with that trend as long as it stays above the 21 EMA and 50 SMA. Okay, Apple, moving on. This one broke out of the space, but now is pulling back into it. So be watching for a bounce early next week. Also in a nice trend, although a little bit, slower than Google overall. Meta, this one had a nice gap up and hold. I love seeing how it held here on Friday versus, this day we did sell off the open. You might expect this to try to fill the gap. Instead, we held and put it inside day. So we're right at this key level, 50 SMA, 200 SMA coinciding there. So I'd love to see it pop through or for this range to develop a little bit further. But if we do break down below these lows, likely we are going to refill this gap and likely test that 21 EMA. But as long as we hold here, this would be looking good for a pop higher through those moving averages. Amazon back in the base here. It was rejected after a very strong move off the 200 SMA and now just pulling back into a confluence of all the moving averages. Tight inside day, so expecting expansion early next week and ideally watching for a break higher and finally a breakout of this base. There's a longer term base started back in July. So ideally we can actually break higher and start trending from this name. INTC, really nice action. We did try to break lower here, but overall, nice 21 EMA pop here. Opportunity on this day, breaking through the highs of this range and the 21 EMA all in basically one day. And I wrote up kind of an article on that specific setup for TradeLab members using this as an example. Expansion the next day with some Apple moves, Apple moves and rumors. Tight day the next day, and then re-expansion. Love to see that. And now we're just kind of forming out a range here below 44 and holding above that 10 EMA. Tight day here to end out the week. So we'll see how we expand here. I wouldn't mind to see a little bit more of a build out of this range before really starting to trend above the moving averages. Palantir, I think this got off the radar of a lot of folks. We've reclaimed the 21 EMA powerfully on this bar, and now have expanded and broken above the 50 SMA. It still has some work to do, and this is a sloppier base, but this is a name that has proven itself to be able to trend really nicely. So, if you get a spot here and it fits your system, I think it's worth giving a shot to see if it sticks or see if it actually will roll over. NVIDIA, this is tightening up right near this base pivot. So watching for expansion, pop through the 21 EMA early next week. And, I love how this hasn't been able to break down. You can see upside reversal, upside reversal, upside reversal. As it tries to get below, 176, it gets bought up. So if it can't move lower, it's likely going to move higher over time. And this, of course, still has very strong growth, expected here based on the estimates. So again, watching for a pop higher through the 21 EMA. AMD also tightening here along with NVIDIA. You have this range that's forming. It has been rejected twice off the 21 EMA, but that's just kind of setting up and showing that a break through that level would be more significant. So watching basically for a wedge pop through this range pivot as well as that 21 EMA. VRT, nice expansion here. Again, another one that had an undercut rally and then nice reclaim of that 21 EMA and expansion higher. And it was able to push through this key level. Let me actually draw a point in here, following through this upside reversal the next day and then expansion even more on Friday. MU has been one of the top performing names, very strong. A little bit of a short-term pullback to the 50 SMA, bounce, now pull back to the 21 EMA, and starting a potential bounce here on Friday through this short-term flag. So we'll see if that can fall through to the upside early next week. I'd actually love to see it kind of contract a little bit more, build out, make this base a little bit more mature, because right now it is a little bit short and stubby, but this is kind of a faster mover. So, that type of stock does typically have, a little bit stubbier bases than a more mature company. BE, this is, of course, one of the AI energy leaders. Strong action, another name that had an undercut and rally. Then you had another opportunity on this day right here as it retested that level, then reconfirmed higher. And then it set up a nice tight range here, just under the moving averages. And you could be playing, the pop through the 21 EMA or range breakout here. There's a setup I highlighted in the Trade Lab as well. A nice action Friday. Watching for expansion, we're at a key level here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some shakiness here, upside reversal maybe, as it tries to, build under this level. But then watching for a pop through higher and ideally a continuation of this very strong trend. And, this, of course, is one of those AI energy leaders to keep an eye on. LOY. This one, of course, it represents kind of the biotechs. They've been leading nicely, but a lot of them are pulling back, tightening here over the past few days. I've noticed NBIX, another name that popped higher. You've got BBIO setting up. You've got ANAB. A lot of these names are kind of looking pretty similar. They formed a tight range, popped higher, or are still kind of pulling back a little bit. Let's see, was Chris another one? Yeah, this one popped higher nicely. So there's a bunch of names in biotech land that are acting really well. I personally try to focus on the ones that are profitable and are liquid for sure. Biotechs have added risks, as many of you guys likely know. So, if you're not an advanced trader, I would say just focus on, the other names. You can, basically ignore that sector. But if you do choose to play it, be aware with what you're doing. And, you do have to manage risk through position sizing as well with biotechs, as with all stocks, but especially with biotechs. AVGO, another key semi leader, nice pullback and bounce off the base pivot here. I love the tightness here on this level here, as it kind of was supported at this level, as well as the 10 EMA, and a little bit of a pop higher on Friday, watching for fall through to the upside, but won't be surprised to see a little bit more consolidation, contraction here below these highs before it actually does start pushing higher. But, semis are a little bit coiled because you have AMD, NVIDIA kind of setting up in tight, and we'll see if we can get a push from those names early next week. AVGO might kind of create that push because we do have earnings December 11th after the market close. And I love in DeFi, you can see when the earnings are by just hovering over the flag. When there's upcoming earnings, a little bit further out, we've got a gray flag. and then a red flag when it's a little bit more immediate. So we'll see what happens with the semi names early next week. So that's pretty much it from the key leaders as well. Let's go back and talk about some of the big movers from last week. DBRG, I believe, is a potential acquisition from this name. Big push here on volume, a little bit of a smaller cap and price stock. NUTX, healthcare equipment. This, of course, has been a leading theme along with bio and pharma. Path, definitely a recent earnings name to watch. This one can really move when it gets going, and very strong earnings report here. And you can see, big surprise profit, and a little bit of surprise revenue as well. A little bit of fall through here, but I'd love to see it kind of tighten up, form a range, and then kind of U-turn higher. That's what I love to trade, those post-gap range breakouts. RBRK, a nice earnings gap in the cyberspace, and you also have Crowd forming a nice tight area right near this level, so you can watch this level to the upside. ZS is kind of oversold down here, forming a tight range. We'll see if it can pop higher. Excuse me. And there's some other names, cyber also in the space recovering. So this is a theme that's kind of developing, and we'll see if RBRK can kind of start something there. MDB, nice gap up and forming that post gap range. And you actually had an entry here on Friday. If I can actually draw in the line here, where it reclaimed that HVC. So we'll see if it can follow through, but still actionable, through these highs here, if it can pop higher. And really nice earnings report as well. Nice growth expected here. And I love seeing this type of reaction and how it held really tightly. That's really key there. FLNC involved in AI data center fabrication, and I think cooling, I believe, renewable energy storage there. Very strong action, pop higher through this range. So this is where I would want to get involved here. And I did highlight it in the trade lab. RMV going down to 0, tight area here up the right hand side of the base. And then you get that expansion. You can manage risk at the low of the day as you enter on this bar right here on the expansion, or even the prior day's low. That's very tight as well. Just within a few percent here, or the 10 EMA. That's all tight and logical entries for tight and logical stops that you could use. Let's see if there's any other names. IoT, nice move here. I noticed that. AMKR continues to trend nicely. Semiconductor materials. AirWR, another biotech that's been super strong, up 83% in just a matter of a few days from this kind of shelf here near the 21 EMA. AXGN as well. App recovering nicely. So, names are looking pretty good, but many of them have, pushed strongly the past few days, and some natural, pullback into the 10 EMA area would do it some good, and kind of would, like I said, would set up the next pivot. So overall, like I said, QQQ above the moving averages, names acting well, leadership shaping up. I'd love to see AMD and NVIDIA, join the party next week and see some expansion there and beginning of trends. But overall, things are looking good, and you should be adding exposure as you get positive feedback from the market, from your watch list, and most importantly from your individual trades. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I'll be doing my weekly watch list video showing the exact stocks I'm focused on early next week tomorrow. And let me know any stocks you'd like to hear my take on. I'll share a bunch of your guys' names as well and give you guys my take. So drop down below, maybe 3 tickers that you'd like to hear my thoughts on, and I'll do my best to, analyze each and every one of those. But thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.